All right, Pi Network. Um, it's being called the cryptocurrency you mine on your phone.
Yeah.
60 million users, they say, across 155 countries.
Wow.
A built-in ad network. We've even seen some stuff about these major partnerships they're supposedly working on. It's, I don't know, it seems like it's everywhere online these days.
Yeah, it's really blowing up.
So is it hype? Or is this thing really going to completely change how we use cryptocurrency? We asked you guys to send over some interesting articles, and you did not disappoint. Lots to dig into here about Pi's open network launch that's coming up, their plans for the whole platform, and even, like I said, some interesting bits about this ad network they've got.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's get into it. Let's see if Pi Network can actually live up to all this buzz.
What I find really interesting, compelling even, is how Pi Network has really seemed to capture people's imaginations. They've really tapped into something, I think. That desire for an accessible cryptocurrency. Think about it. Mining on your phone,
Yeah.
that's brilliant, at least from a marketing perspective.
Right, it's like everybody's walking around with a smartphone.
Exactly.
But what's actually going on under the hood? What's the reality of all this? The articles you sent over describe like a consensus mechanism that uses users vouching for security.
Interesting.
Almost like, I don't know, like a social network, but for validating transactions,
Okay.
which is completely different from, the energy-intensive mining rigs that we see with Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So technically speaking, what are the implications of using that kind of approach?
Well, it could be a good and a bad thing. I mean, on the one hand, you've got this approach that makes mining accessible to like almost anyone. You don't need expensive hardware. There's no massive energy consumption. So that's appealing to, I think, everyday users, and environmentally conscious investors as well, right? But then on the other hand, you've got these big question marks around scalability and long-term security. Can it really work long-term? And how does Pi Network plan to address those potential problems as the network keeps growing? I think we need more information about that.
Yeah, especially with so many users already, which kind of leads into my next thought,
Yeah.
the whole question of value. One of these articles mentioned that right now Pi's value is completely speculative because there's no trading history.
Right.
They're putting all their eggs in the platform basket, right? This attention economy idea driving demand for Pi.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting. Because Pi Network is trying to do something we haven't really seen in the crypto space before. They want to move beyond just speculative trading. They're trying to build a real ecosystem where you can use Pi in your day-to-day life.
Okay.
And the Pi ad networks, that's a perfect example. You've got advertisers, and they pay using Pi to reach users in the ecosystem, which, I mean, on paper is a really smart way to potentially generate that demand. But for it to actually work, it really depends on user engagement, right? And Pi's ability to actually attract those big advertisers to the platform.
It's like that chicken and egg thing. You need users to get advertisers, but you also need valuable ad space to get users.
Exactly. And I mean, we should also consider what that CoinMarketCap article highlighted. Pi Network is already out there trying to get these partnerships in place even before the open network launches. What does that tell you?
Sounds like they're trying to build some legitimacy, showing they've got real-world utility, from the very beginning. But I don't know, the articles are vague about who these partners actually are.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you wonder if they're having trouble getting, established names on board at this point.
Right.
So these partnerships, they seem really important for Pi Network. But what kind of partnerships would actually tell us they're on the right track? Is there anything we can point to and say, okay, that's big? The articles mention partnerships being these, essential building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that actually look like, in the real world?
Yeah, and it is interesting, right? The sources, they don't really give us a lot of specifics,
Right.
which, I think that kind of speaks for itself in a way. Like, if I'm Pi Network and I've got these huge partnerships lined up, I'm shouting it from the rooftops, right?
Yeah.
We're partnering with Amazon. Use Pi at checkout. Or, convert your Pi seamlessly through Visa,
Right.
through MasterCard.
Right.
Those are the kinds of partnerships I think that could really make a difference.
It seems like they're building this whole ecosystem, and the ad network is just one piece of it. Are they jumping the gun, though? If people can't actually do anything with Pi outside of their platform, is it ever really going to be valuable in the real world?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? Pi Network's betting a lot on this attention economy idea. But that's not exactly a sure thing, is it? Especially when it comes to crypto. I mean, this idea of, users being rewarded just for their attention, that's not new. We see that with social media, right? But those platforms, they're not exactly famous for being transparent or for, making sure the value is shared fairly.
So there's some ethical questions here too, potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
It's one thing to, earn some pie by watching an ad or something, but what if your data is part of what's being bought and sold and you don't even realize it, or you don't have any control over it?
Exactly. And on top of all that, we have to remember that this whole pie ad network thing, it only works if they can actually get advertisers in the first place. I mean, why would they choose to advertise on Pi Network instead of going with one of the platforms that everyone already uses, one that's got a proven track record?
Unless Pi is offering them something they can't get anywhere else,
Right.
like maybe early access to a user base that's really engaged, really active, or I don't know, maybe really targeted advertising, focused on specific niches or something.
Yeah, it's possible.
Mm.
But that brings us back to needing more transparency from Pi. We need to see clear examples of how this is all actually going to work. Right now, there just aren't enough answers. It's mostly just question marks.
And the open network launch, that's coming up fast.
Yeah.
What happens if they launch, but they haven't really gotten their platform where it needs to be, or they don't have those big partnerships? This open network launch, it feels like a turning point for Pi Network.
I know it
It's their chance to really show everybody that this is more than just hype, right?
Yeah.
That this whole ecosystem that they're building, it's actually going somewhere. But, what does this launch really mean from a technical standpoint? What actually changes when Pi Network goes from this closed thing to the open market?
Think of it like, I don't know, like they're opening the floodgates.
Okay.
Right now, Pi is in its own little world, right? But when they do this open network launch, that means connecting to the rest of the crypto world. We're talking about trading on exchanges, interacting with other blockchains, all of it.
And that means they're suddenly exposed to a lot more, right?
Yeah.
More scrutiny, definitely more competition.
Yeah.
It's not just other new crypto projects anymore. Now they're on the same level as the big players. Bitcoin, Ethereum.
Exactly. And the market, it's going to decide what Pi is really worth based
Mhm.
on supply and demand, obviously. But I think, even more importantly, how useful people think it actually is. If users, if investors, if they actually see real-world uses for Pi, then the price could go way up, especially if they start announcing those big partnerships, and those partnerships are actually delivering, offering real benefits.
Yeah, there's always a but, right?
But on the other hand, what if the open network launches and Pi just isn't ready? What if the platform is still kind of a mess? What if they don't have those big partnerships they've been hinting at? Then the price could tank, and it could tank fast. People who got in early might cash out because they're disappointed. Speculators, the ones who are always just chasing the next big thing, they'll jump ship the second they see any problems.
So it's make or break time for Pi, huh?
Pretty much.
They've got this massive user base, and they've definitely built something interesting, even if it's a little bit mysterious at times. But at the end of the day, is it enough?
That's the question.
Can they actually make the jump from this closed ecosystem to being like a major player in the world of cryptocurrency?
I think the answer, it's complicated, like a lot of things in the crypto world, right? There's no way to predict the future. I mean, we know Pi Network has tapped into something that people really want, that idea of a cryptocurrency that anyone can use, that's easy to understand, and that's actually useful in your everyday life. They've got people excited, there's no doubt about that. But now they've got to actually deliver.
Those results, they can't just be user numbers and these vague promises about partnerships.
Exactly. The open network launch, it's really just the beginning of the next chapter for Pi, and it's a story that hasn't been written yet. But we'll be watching to see how it unfolds.
It's definitely an interesting case study, and I think it says a lot about how exciting the crypto space is and how unpredictable it can be. If Pi Network plays their cards right, who knows? Maybe they will change how we all think about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But if they mess this up, they could just fade away, and it'll be another one of those cautionary tales, all hype, no substance.
I think one thing's for sure, though, everybody's going to be watching to see what happens.
And I think that's what makes this whole deep dive so interesting, right? It's not about having all the answers. It's about exploring the possibilities, thinking about the risks and the potential rewards, and then, at the end of the day, deciding for yourself. Do you buy into the hype? Or do you wait and see what happens?
Right. And remember, this world, the world of cryptocurrency, it changes fast. What seems revolutionary today could be old news tomorrow. So stay informed, keep asking those critical questions, and whatever you do, never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Very, very good advice. This Pi Network deep dive, it's been quite a ride. I mean, that's crypto, right? We've talked about the technology, the platform, the potential, the risks, all of it. But I think the big question is still out there. Is Pi Network the future of cryptocurrency? Or is this just another flash in the pan? Guess only time will tell. But that's it for us this time. Keep exploring, keep learning, and stay curious. We'll see you next time.